Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Hello, friends. I'm Taya.
And I'm Sammy.
And we're the hosts of the Offbeat Worm podcast.
Come check us out. We talk about so many things.
Spooky things, silly things, and everything in between. Find our show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more.
And we'll catch you on the Offbeat.
See you soon.
Hey, Twisted Listeners. I'm Cindy.
And I'm Diva.
And this is Twisted Listeners, a podcast about murder
and lists.
We're brought to you by the Podmoth Podcasting Network. Check out all the other awesome podcasts on the network. There's some really good ones. We've got some new ones that joined us recently. Check them out. Give them some love. And it was Diva's birthday last week, and I missed it.
Yeah. I did not even notice that you missed it. You keep saying this, but I don't think you did. I don't know.
I was sick and I forgot, and I'm really sorry.
Everyone's been sick. We had the holiday. It's been a weird week.
It's weird when your birthday is anywhere around Thanksgiving. It's just one of those things, and I'm sure you're used to that, like growing up, having people just like everybody's traveling. Your birthday's never actually on Thanksgiving, though, right? It's
no,
too early.
it is because Thanksgiving rotates. So there's like every 7 years or something. It
actually falls on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when it is, it's really shitty because people are all stressed out and no one cares at all. So.
See, I thought that yours would have never, because it's the earlier in the week.
Early. Yeah.
I usually think of it anywhere from the 24th to the 27th, but I guess it extends a little bit more.
It's all the 20s of November.
That's crazy. So. That's a bummer. It's like being born on Christmas. At least it's not every year for you. Yeah.
Yeah, Christmas is worse. But it's been a crazy week. I'm quarantining from possibly having COVID right now. I don't feel sick, but you might hear a little cough, which may or may not be COVID.
Yeah, well, and we skipped last week because I was super sick and it wasn't COVID, but man, when you're an adult and you get sick, it's the end of your life, dude. It's so sorry we missed last week, you guys. The thing is, I was able to work and maintain, but anything extra, I was just no fucking way, no brain capacity.
Yeah, just barely keeping the ship afloat.
Yeah, so hopefully you don't get sick because that would fucking suck. Although when you did have COVID, you totally recorded and were completely dutiful. And
I was and fully internalized capitalism was deep within me because I never stopped working. I was in meetings being I'm incredibly physically ill right now. Boop, 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 boop. Let me show you this PowerPoint. Like an idiot.
That's so fucked up, dude. Oh my god, our fucking world. What is it? Yeah. It's terrible.
No, I had pre-vaccine COVID, and I also like to tell people that, like a hipster,
I had
the original edition of COVID without any vaccines.
Well, I had it before anybody even knew what it was. Not to out hipster you, but for a long time. So everybody at the preschool, I think I've told the story before, got super fucking sick because we were at a co-op. So all the parents would work together. Right. So if one of us got sick, all of us got sick. A family went to Taiwan for Christmas, came back, ended up with, quote unquote, pneumonia in the hospital. Next thing you know, this shit spreads through us like wildfire. And I always was I wonder if we were just really sick. And eventually one of the moms was like, dude, I lost my sense of taste and smell for a week. And I was like, oh my God, it was COVID.
Yeah, you had the OG.
Yeah, before anybody knew what it was. Anyway, we're past all that now.
Enough COVID talk. Yeah.
Let's talk about what we're doing this week. You chose.
I did, and this is kind of my Thanksgiving topic. It's parricides, which is a fun word meaning people who kill their parents.
Yes. And again, we're a week late, and it's my fault, but it's still a nice topic because this is sandwiched in between the holidays. So I think it bleeds over into any time you're forced to be around your family. So still a really good one. And since you chose, I'm going to go first. And I'm going to start with the story of Jennifer Pan.
Okay.
Oof. Yeah, this is a wild one. I've definitely heard podcasts previously just because I listened to them that kind of start with this as a mystery. I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
Because, most people know the story at least peripherally, and also it's just too much work.
Yeah.
All right. So Jennifer Pan was born in 1986 to parents who I heard are of Chinese descent but lived in Vietnam. So I'm not sure, but I think they are Chinese from Vietnam and they immigrated to Canada. Her parents, Bic An and Hui Han Pan, who went by Han, met after both came to Canada separately and then met there. And they were married in 1981. Jennifer was born in 1986 and her younger brother was born in 1989. Both children were held to what I will call impossibly high standards by her parents, and namely her father, Han. Growing up, Jennifer essentially was not allowed to have fun or like a real childhood. She wasn't really allowed to go to parties, no after school hangouts, definitely no boyfriends, no going to a dance because what if she gets a boyfriend at this dance? So nothing but kind of like work, 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 study, 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 right?
It's a bummer.
It's not cool. She started piano lessons when she was 4 and then shortly thereafter started taking ice skating lessons. And she was so good at ice skating and piano, but she was so good at ice skating that she was slated to attend the Olympics. But but in like 7th or 8th grade, she tore a ligament in her knee. So
shit.
Yeah, and that ended her career.
That's a bummer.
It is. But she was very proficient in music. That was kind of her thing. Like she was really, really good at piano. So she continued playing. And she did really well in school when she was young. But I think as she got older, she started to want, a life. And so resented the way that her parents, and again, mostly her father, treated her. Her friends said that Han was a typical, quote, tiger dad, and that her mother seemed to just kind of go along with it because she had to like honor her husband kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then although her grades did start to slip in high school, she was granted early admission to Ryerson University, a research university located in Toronto. Now, during my research here, there are a lot of people in comments of like, articles written about this that are like, who doesn't get into Ryerson? Like, ugh. So apparently it's like a pretty easy college to get into. It's like maybe one step above like a junior college where they literally like basically can't tell you no.
Okay, so it's not like Ivy League's shit we're talking about. Okay.
Definitely not, but she was given early admission. So there was that. She had like a C average, B or C average, something like that. But it was enough to get into this school, which was in Toronto. So this early admission kind of fell apart though when in her senior year she failed calculus, which not only had her early admission rescinded, but it actually kept her from graduating high school.
Oh shit.
So she didn't graduate.
Okay. I failed algebra too, so I didn't get to calculus.
Dude, I took algebra like 7 times. I started in 7th grade and everybody's like, you're like a child genius. Like, we hate you. And then like in 12th grade, I'm still in algebra.
Yeah, I failed it. And then they put me in like bridge to algebra, like training for baby steps to algebra. I failed that. And then they put me in algebra again and I failed it again.
Yeah. No, I mean, the reason I failed it is because in 7th grade is also when I discovered weed. And algebra, like math class, was like the perfect time to just go get high instead. So
I'm just really bad at math.
I'm actually decent at it. The thing I can't do is geometry. Like, which
really?
is weird.
I'm okay at that. Yeah.
Nope, not me. The part of algebra that I failed consistently was geometry. Anyway, I'm sure people really care about this. Okay, moving on. So she also apparently was not great at math. Just kidding. If you're in calculus in high school at all, you're a fucking smart person.
Yeah, no, I never made it. So
yeah. So she didn't graduate. And you might think, well, with tiger parents, like how the fuck is she not only getting away with having like a B or C average, but like straight up not graduating?
Yeah.
Tiger dad would have probably been laying down the law.
Oh, yeah.
So Jennifer was not super studious, but she was actually really smart and also very clever. So she got into the habit of forging her report cards, transcripts, and like everything. So fooling her parents into thinking she was doing great. And this extended into like all aspects of her life. So she was telling like other students like, oh yeah, I'm going to Ryerson, like, oh, this and that. She like had this whole elaborate web of lies. And she wasn't even graduating.
John listing it. Yes. Creating a house of lies.
Very much. So you think like what happened, right? Because if she was doing so well in school, she's not given an opportunity to do anything else. So like, what's going on? I think what happened was when she was in 8th grade, she was kicking ass in school, kicking ass at piano, like overachieving, doing everything her parents wanted. And apparently in 8th grade graduation, they had a valedictorian and they didn't give it to her. They gave it to somebody else. Even though she was in ice skating, she was doing piano, she was excelling in all of her classes. So she was like, I didn't get why work so hard if I'm not going to be recognized. Like, fuck this. This is a fucking lie. She kept what she later called her, quote, happy face on for everyone, including her friends, other students, and specifically her parents. So she in her mind is like, fuck this. I'm not going to work this hard if I'm getting nothing out of it. You know, she gets injured and loses her chances at the Olympics. She doesn't get valedictorian. I mean, I can understand feeling crushed. And then she also has this dad who's like, you are only valuable in terms of like what you produce, essentially.
Yeah, your resume as a kid.
Yeah, as like a child. And this is, again, starts piano when she's 4. So this has been the way that she's been raised her entire life. So when it came to time to go to college, she went. Like, she didn't actually go to the college, but it was easy. It was easy to lie about it because it was local. So she was still living at home. But at some point, she convinced her parents to let her stay with a friend during the week because it was closer to the school. This friend, who she claimed also went to the same college, was actually her high school boyfriend, Daniel Wong, whom she had successfully hidden from her parents for about 3 to 4 years at this point. So she would work odd jobs. She worked at a coffee house. She would teach piano. And when it came time to pay her admission, she had that covered by telling her parents she was getting a full ride from the college for her stellar grades. So when her dad was like, do I have to pay your tuition this semester? She'd be like, no. Also, I just want to say that what she lied and told her parents she was getting was $3,000, which is all it took for her fucking yearly admission to college because she doesn't live in America.
Okay, so yeah, obviously the lies aren't like a super solid researched, like well structured, like
no. But what I'm saying is, in Canada, college is like way fucking cheaper.
Oh, you mean it actually was 3,000?
It actually was. I thought
she was just bullshitting and making that number up.
No, but see, it's so like out of the realm of possibility in our brains that we're like idiot, and it's like no, that's how much it costs. So
yeah, no, my brain did not even conceive that 3,000 could be a related to college admission. So
yeah, isn't that fucking sad?
How much a year was college when we went to it together?
Like 40 all in, 40 like with housing and shit. Yeah. And that was fucking 12, 13 years ago or whatever. Longer. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so she even lied and told them that she was transferring to Toronto University in 2006. So she went to college, quote unquote, at Ryerson for 2 years and then transferred, quote unquote, to Toronto University. And they fucking believed her. They bought her a laptop. They were paying her cell phone bill. They bragged about her. You know, she also at one point lied to her parents and said post-graduation that she was volunteering at a children's hospital. And regarding her graduation, she told her parents they couldn't attend because the class was so large that they could only give each student one ticket. And she didn't want to have to choose between her mom and dad. So she brought a friend instead. And her parents were like, okay. Gosh. I just want to know how they can believe this. They've never been on campus. They've never, gone to anything school related. She doesn't invite them to graduation.
It's like stressing me out. Yeah.
It's really elaborate. All of these lies are just so elaborate and like also, but like very brazen. Like just like, fuck it, I'm doing this.
Easily disproven.
So much. All they had to do was check.
Yeah.
And they did. In 2008, her parents grew super suspicious because they're like, where's your ID badge? Where's your hospital uniform? Like you say you're working here. So they tailed her to work. And like, I can't believe they didn't do this way earlier, honestly.
Yeah.
Like for them to be so controlling, but also just like taking her at her word. But I guess they had no reason not to. She started lying and covering her tracks so early on. Right. There was no indication that anything was wrong. You know what I mean?
They just bought it.
Yeah. So finally though, they catch her. And even though she was 22 at the time, her parents basically like grounded her. They forbid her from seeing Daniel because, they stalked her ass and found him, confiscated her phone and her computer. And then basically were like, you're not to leave the house. Like, you're not going anywhere. And she's 22 years old and she's
an adult.
Yeah. And she's not like, fuck off. She fucking stays and complies.
Wow.
Sort of. She definitely continued to see Daniel, but fully in secret, even more secret than before because they didn't know about him to this point.
Yeah.
Daniel, who was the same age and also was like a drug dealer and not following rules, grew sick of these arrangements like pretty quickly. He was also a college dropout. He had some questionable connections to some pretty shitty people. So he wasn't really afraid of getting into trouble. So I think it was really hard for him to understand why Jennifer wouldn't just like tell her parents to fuck off, you know?
Right.
It's like she's staying with him 3 days a week. Like just go get a job at a coffee shop or whatever and live with your boyfriend, you know?
Bail. Yeah.
And I think some of that was like her conditioning, but also like she's a pathological liar. And she's doing this for self-preservation in a way. Because
she has to kind of keep the house of lies intact. Like she wants to keep this going.
Right. But you have to think like, well, why is she doing that? Like, what does she stand to gain?
Yeah.
What she stands to gain is that her parents both worked really hard at an auto manufacturing plant. They were super frugal. So they bought this really nice house, a Mercedes, a Lexus, and they had $200,000 already saved for their retirement and were still working. Okay. So Jennifer wanted to play along basically to maintain access to her parents' money. Because she knew they had money. It's like, how long did she think she could pull this off? You know what I mean? Like, she's just going to live at home forever, like lying to her parents.
She gets $200,000? Like, what's the timeline here?
Exactly. So I don't think she really had a plan. But, you know, once her parents found out about Daniel, so Daniel was half Chinese, half Filipino. And Jennifer later said that her dad was like, he's Filipino. He's never going to be any good. He's never going to support you. So her dad, on top of everything else, is also a fucking racist, which is just, which I mean, obviously racism, he's not a racist in like the systemic version of the word, but that's not fucking cool. You know what I'm saying?
It is not.
It's garbage. So she's, you know, she's in a bad fucking place, but I just don't really understand what her end game was. And I don't really think she thought that far ahead.
I mean, I think it's also just like keeping the lie together just to keep it together, you know? Like she doesn't want to admit that, you know, it was all fake.
Right. So even that's what I should tell you too, is that even after she got caught, she didn't initially tell them that she didn't go to college and that she didn't graduate. She just told them that she didn't work at the hospital and that she didn't go to University of Toronto.
She still didn't want to fully.
Yeah, but then they found out eventually because they started looking into it. So they just realized it's like this huge web of lies, but she's the type of person who like, okay, well, I got caught this far. I'm not going to go tell the rest. I'm only going to give as much as I have to. Right.
Yeah.
The weird psychology on this chick. So anyway, Daniel finally broke things off with her. He started dating another girl named Christine, and Jennifer, who obviously always dealt with things in a really unhealthy way. Also, she was a cutter. So obviously there's a lot of internalized things going on. She's not like a happy person.
No, there's a lot of mental health issues happening.
And I do feel for her because obviously like, her dad sucks. Like he just does.
Yeah.
But the way she deals with it also sucks. So anyway, she decides to lie to Daniel and tell him that she was being harassed by men sent by his new girlfriend, saying that at one point a group of men came into her house and, trigger warning, gang raped her.
Ugh.
Yeah. She then said that they mailed a bullet to her house with like a warning, like stay away from Daniel. Which like, who is this girl that he's dating? Like, and how would that even be something related to her? You know what I'm saying? But apparently Daniel kind of believed it. So she just lies, manipulates. It's just pathological at this point. Now, really quickly, I want to say that her mother was way more compassionate. She would even allow her to sneak phone calls and check her Facebook while under what Jennifer described as, quote, house arrest. So her mom would be like, okay, here's where your dad hid your phone. You can use it for 10 minutes until he gets home or whatever. So I think her mom, again, was kind of stuck in the middle and having to like do as the father said, but really having sympathy for her daughter. And it was just bad. So now we're in like early 2010 and her lies didn't really work in getting Daniel back, but they did seem to sort of keep in touch. So he was still in touch with her. I think it's because like she was calling his house and hanging up and doing weird shit and then saying the same thing was happening to her. So they'd have something to talk about. Meanwhile, her parents were making her actually apply to college after she actually graduated high school. And she did start to regain their trust, but much the way she had kept it her entire life, like lies and deception, the same way she dealt with Daniel. Later in 2010, she reconnected with a high school friend named Andrew Montemayor, who bragged about robbing people at knife point and also said he at one point planned to kill his own dad because she was telling him like how much she hated her dad. And he was like, oh, I hated mine too. Like I was going to kill him. He later denied all of this, but who knows, you know? This got Jennifer thinking, though, and at one point she offered Andrew's roommate, Ricardo Duncan, $1,500 to kill her father, and only her father outside of his work. Duncan kept the money and stopped returning her calls, and later denied this ever happened, but did concede that Jennifer gave him money for a, quote, night out, which he later returned. Which doesn't make any sense. Like,
No.
she gave me $200 for a night out. Like, what does that even mean?
Well, okay.
So this lends a little credibility to her story that I do think they were in touch, and I do think she probably offered him the money, and he probably fucking stole it from her, you know?
Yeah.
Daniel had maybe believed Jennifer's lies about his new girlfriend. I don't know, but they started texting again, like I said, and then they started flirty texting.
Okay.
So they're she's working back into getting back together with him. And
Gotcha.
during all this flirty texting, Jennifer presented her idea to kill her parents to Daniel, and the two came up with the plan. Daniel connected Jennifer to a young man named Lenford Crawford. What a name. Who told Jennifer that
a lot of furred.
A lot of furds.
Furred.
Who told Jennifer that a hit would cost $20K, but for a friend of Daniel, only a little $10K, just a little bit, not too much. Jennifer was like, that won't be a problem. Once my parents are dead, I get like $500,000, so I'll pay you off once I get that. And he's like, cool, let's do it. So on Halloween, Lenford, otherwise known as Homeboy, by the way, that was like his nickname, Homeboy.
Oh, wow. Okay, very cool.
Yeah. Scouted the house in preparation. So this is Halloween 2010. He scouts the house in preparation to kill the parents. And meanwhile, on November 2nd, things took a weird turn when Daniel told Jennifer he still had feelings for Christine, his other girlfriend, and that he didn't know if he wanted to be with Jennifer. So Jennifer's like, let's just call the whole thing off then.
Yeah.
Daniel's like, wait, I thought this was for you. Like, I thought you wanted to kill your dad for yourself, not just so you could be with me.
Right.
So it's like,
does this hinge on the relationship or not? Yeah.
Exactly. And she's like, no, I want it for me. It's not just to be with you. But obviously she's pretty singularly focused in that she just wants to be with Daniel.
That's like, the outcome she outlined in the plan. Yeah.
And so part of this too, like, she's not listening to him.
Yeah.
Like, she thinks that she's going to be able to get what she wants, and she's just going to manipulate him. So he broke it off with her. So she created all these stories. She started calling his house and then saying, oh, that's happening at my house, keeping ways of keeping in touch with him. So he's pretty obvious he's over it, and she's just not.
She's just stringing out the relationship with situations and reasons to be in touch. And
yeah. And whatever is going on, she's just decided, like, because this is what I want, I'm going to get this. And she's not hearing anything else. So she decides, like, let's move forward with this. Yeah. So from there, a bunch of texts are exchanged over the following days, including texts about when the, quote, go time would be, how they're going to get in, all this shit. This was all done from Jennifer's burner phone with the pull-out SIM card that Daniel had got her so they could communicate behind her parents' back. So the afternoon of November 8th, Jennifer texts Homeboy, I love that name, saying that night would be, quote, go time. That evening, her father went to bed really early, which I think he did all the time, because he had to be at work at like 5 a.m. Her mother was out line dancing and got home around 9:35. Oh. Jennifer then made a 2-minute phone call, followed by another just after 10 p.m. Around 10:05, 3 intruders entered the Pan home armed with guns. One pointed their gun at Bicon, while another ran upstairs and shoved a gun in Han's face. They started yelling, "Where's the money?" And all in ended up with like $3,300. The parents spoke to each other, asking like how they could have entered the house. And Han's like, I don't know, I was asleep. And the intruders are like, shut up, you talk too much. Like, where's the money? They just keep saying over and over, like, where's the money? Where's the money?
Yeah.
So Bicon pleaded for them not to hurt her daughter, to which one replied, quote, don't worry, she's nice and won't be hurt. Which,
not suspicious at all.
Yeah, not at all. They then shot Han in the face and shoulder, shattering his eye socket and skimming his carotid artery. Oof. They then shot Bicon 3 times, including the head, killing her instantly.
Ugh.
Shortly thereafter, a call came into 911 from Jennifer, who was sobbing and begging for help, saying there'd been intruders in her home and that she had heard popping sounds and she didn't know where her parents were. During this call, which, by the way, listening to it, 100% real. You would never.
Wow.
You would never know she was in on
I mean,
it.
she's had training as an actress already. I mean, in a way.
Yeah, but like, oh my God. I listened to it and I was like, that is like evidence in her favor. You know what I mean? Like, it was so legit. But during this call, her father came to and began screaming, I think for his wife, who was, dead next to him, unfortunately.
Oh,
Jennifer called out his name and then he ran out the front door looking for help. One of their neighbors happened to be getting in their car to go to work and saw him and also called 911. So when they arrived, Jennifer had her hands tied behind her back, or the remnants of that. I think her hands were like shoelaced behind her back. Her father was unconscious but alive and was rushed to the hospital. Around 3 a.m., Jennifer was taken in for questioning and gave her story that the men had entered the home shouting for money, had tied her hands behind her back, and shot both of her parents while she was upstairs tied to like a rail. She said she had hidden her cell phone inside her waistband and managed to call police despite being tied to the post. So at first, police obviously thought of Jennifer as a victim.
Yeah.
She was allowed to leave to go stay with her aunt and uncle. Pretty quickly, though, they became suspicious because her parents had no enemies. There were no ties to anything. The only thing they saw was that Jennifer's boyfriend, which they found out about pretty quickly, had ties to the drug world. So immediately they're like, what's
the
going
only
on?
shady bit person
At all,
there.
right.
Yeah.
So first, they noticed that there was a bunch of money and all three victims' wallets still at the house. And for men obsessed with, quote, finding quote, the money, they
does not
left,
track.
like a lot behind. Also, if it was a home invasion, why didn't they steal one of the cars if they're there for like money and goods? They were out in the open. The keys for the cars were out in the open, easy to grab, and they didn't take them. Also, they didn't come with crowbars or anything to open the doors. They just walked in the house because the door was unlocked.
Many red flags are flying. Yeah.
Also, they didn't have zip ties to restrain the family. And more importantly, like, why would they leave one witness alive? Entirely unharmed.
No reason. Yeah.
There's no reason. So lastly, to put Jennifer firmly in the middle of all this, why would her father run away from her as she called out to him? She called out and said she was on the phone with 911. Why wouldn't he run up to her? Why did he instead run out the front door? It's pretty damning.
Yeah.
So none of this added up. So police, put Jennifer under surveillance. They also had her come back in for more questioning. The officer interviewing her in her second interview made her feel really safe, like she was just a witness. And in reality, they were poking holes in her story, which did change between her two retellings. Then on November 12th, her father, Han, woke up from a 3-day induced coma and remembered everything.
Holy shit. It's like your case last time.
Yep.
Judy Malinowski. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
One of the things that he remembered was that Jennifer wasn't at any point that he saw actually tied up, and also that she had seemingly been quietly chatting with one of the intruders as though they were friends. Okay. Also, during Jennifer's second interview, she was pretty much entirely unable to recreate her phone call with her hands behind her back. So that tracks with her dad being like, no, she actually wasn't tied up.
She's not tied up, yeah.
No. Finally, on November 22nd, police took off the kid gloves and told Jennifer straight up, we know you're involved. They called her back for a third interview, and they were like, you fucking did this. Tell us what happened. She began to cry and asked, quote, but what will happen to me? She then attempted some ridiculous story about how she decided to kill herself, but couldn't bear to do it herself, so instead hired someone to do it for her.
Oh my God. No.
So they were going to break in and murder her because her relationship with her dad was so bad. She then said that in September, things with her father improved, so she called things off, but wires got crossed and they ended up killing her mom and trying to kill her dad instead of her.
Oh my God. Okay.
So,
I mean,
she just can't
never
stop.
It's never happened. Yeah, no, she's a pathological liar. Like she's into it at this point.
But I think there's also some again, I'm sure people love when we armchair diagnose, but I feel like there's some very deep either narcissism or what's that thing that they said Amber Heard has, histrionic personality.
Oh,
she really thinks she's convincing people of this, and everybody around her is like, bro, it's so obvious you're lying, but she just can't admit it.
It also needs the drama around her, kind of.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly what her excuse was, but police were like, yeah, you're under arrest. They then used her cell phone and SIM card, which they did eventually find, even though she's like, I don't know where it went, to tie 4 other people to the attacks, including her ex-boyfriend, Daniel. All 5 were charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and attempted murder. And all 5 were given 2 life sentences, one for the murder and one for the attempted murder. But we're in Canada, so they're all eligible for parole in 25 years. They did get a non-parole period of 25 years, which is pretty...
That's heavy for Canada.
Very heavy. So if her appeals, which are still being filed, are all denied, as are Daniel's, they're still being, filed.
Yeah.
She will be 49 when she is eligible for release, and Daniel will be 50. So one of the articles that I read about this case was a woman who went to school with her and was a friend of
interesting.
hers. Yeah. And she talked about the trial a bit, basically saying Jennifer was on the stand for 7 days and just lied the whole time. Every time they caught her, she would like tell a half truth to try to get out of it. So like she cannot stop. There's something amiss.
Yeah.
Something is wrong in her brain. Her father, I believe, also testified. But more importantly, her family, her entire family, requested that at no point in the future ever will she be allowed to contact them. Not her brother, not her father, nobody.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Her father said he can no longer work. He has no joy in life. He doesn't garden. He doesn't do any of the things he used to love because he's just miserable. And he also can't find anybody to buy their home, and he can't bear to live in it. So he lives nearby with relatives and is just absolutely miserable.
That's so sad.
Yeah. Daniel is apparently very like weirdly jovial in prison, but also very avoidant when talking about the case. This woman who was friends with both of them in high school said that she attempted to get formal interviews with both of them and they both declined. And in her article, she ends on saying that some people believe her parents are to blame, Jennifer's parents. And the comment section of her article is fucking wild. People are just like, fuck her, like, how dare you say the parents are to blame, and yada, yada, yada. I have to say, her father is abusive. He's abusive. Like, she was raised in an abusive household. And people are like, that's how Asian households are. And it's like, but it's also like, don't normalize that. Abuse. Yeah. Like, that, if part of your culture is abusive, which, hi, I'm white, it's like all of my culture, like, you have to confront that. It's not okay to just be like, well, it's part of our culture. Like, what was happening to her? She was being punished essentially without ever having done anything wrong. And I'm not she was also being treated like a kid, being grounded and stuff as an adult. Like, that's deeply abusive. I mean, you obviously don't want to say like anyone deserves to get murdered, but like, no, God, no. This isn't that far from like the cases we talked about with abusive relationships, where people snap. Like, right. I mean, the difference is that this was quite planned as well, but. Well, obviously she has some major personality flaws and things going on, but I think the infantilization of her for her entire life by her parents did not help whatever's going on in her head. I think that, I was thinking about the Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee Blanchard case when I was reading about this one. If people don't know, like, Gypsy Rose was a victim of Munchausen by proxy and murdered her mother. Just basically to get away from the abuse. And it's like cases like these are so complicated. They're not cut and dry, Another parent murder case out of Canada is Jasmine Richardson. That is cut and dry. She's an evil piece of shit and she murdered her parents in cold blood because she wanted to be with her loser ass fucking boyfriend. This one I feel like has a lot more layers to it. And I'm not saying that Jennifer shouldn't be in prison. Like, she should, right. But I just feel like this is more complicated, Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, there it is. She's never granted a formal interview from prison, I think because of all the appeals being filed. But in the few times that she has kind of talked, she victimizes herself. She plays the victim a lot. It doesn't really seem like... I think if she gets out, I don't think she's a danger, but I do think that she's going to be a weird member of society. Not fully function up to normal functions. Yeah. Have some issues. Yeah. Ugh. All right. Well, there it is. Oh my gosh. All right. Good job. That's a whirlwind of a case. And I'm glad you did that. Also her case, because otherwise it's like a lot of dudes this week. All men. A lot of men kill their parents, which is kind of, I don't know. I always felt like as a teen girl that I was way more like gnarly than all the dudes I knew, but apparently they do a lot of parent murder. So men, okay, so I'm gonna talk about the very Thanksgiving-y tale of Joel Michael Guy Jr. Yay! These are both November cases, by the way. Yeah, all right. Also, Cindy just greeted this case with a yay. Oh, I know. It's like so gruesome. Sorry. Okay. It's a terrible case, but I really like this case. I won't talk about why because I don't want to ruin anything, but I really, as far as true crime goes, this is a very compelling case for me. It's insane. Okay. Yes.
So, and I'm very glad my husband got his butt out of bed because he'll enjoy listening to this, I think, on the couch. So, okay, so this happened in 2016 in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Lisa is 55 and she's married to Joel Guy, who's 61. They had been married for 31 years.
Wow.
They have one son, Joel Guy Jr. At this time, he is 28. He's actually the same exact age as me because he's born in 1988.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And they also had 3 daughters that Joel had from a previous relationship, from a previous marriage. Their names are Tina, Angela, and Michelle.
Can I just say that means that he was 30 when they got married, but to have 3 kids by the time you're 30 is like, that's a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess
people
back
do
then
that.
it was normal.
People have
but
kids in their 20s, like boop, boop, boop. You know, people do
I
it.
know.
So
It's so weird to me. Anyway.
yeah,
All
less common now, but it
Yes,
happens.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, now all of a sudden we're like 35 and we're like, you know.
I'll start thinking about it. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
when I had Ollie, Rory and I were like, oh, we're gonna be like the old parents. Nope. All the parents of all of Ollie's friends are like our age or older. So it's definitely
yeah.
changed.
It's a thing. Yeah.
It is. Anyway, sorry. Here we go.
Anyway, so that's the family. Joel Sr. was a pipeline engineering designer, so smart guy. They had a very nice family home. Pictures show it covered with family photos, you know, very lived in, very cozy. People describe the couple as being in love. They're still soulmates. They love their family. They love doing nature stuff. They're just, everything's fine.
Okay.
They had actually also just sold this home or were trying to sell it, I think, and they were about to retire and move into his mom's rural kind of cabin about 90 miles away, kind of like a rural, you know, retirement. Sounds like a nightmare to me, but, you know, they were into it.
They're moving into like the final stage of their lives. Happily.
Unlike me, they like nature, so they're into it. And they were having a kind of big family Thanksgiving with all the kids before they left, right? So the last party at the house. So after Thanksgiving, the daughters were all there. They went home. And Joel, their son, was staying there until Friday. At some point during the festivities, they told the daughters that they planned to talk to Joel about cutting him off financially.
Okay.
So Joel, even though he lived in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, was totally financially supported by his parents. He's 28 at this point. And he did attend some college kind of off and on and said he was training to become a plastic surgeon, but he never actually had a job. And he kind of just seemed to be floating through college, ? By 28, you should have like a BA, right? To like show for it, or BS or something.
Right. So it feels like these are kind of similar stories in that they're lying to their parents to maintain like monetary support.
Yeah.
But one of them is more like I'm a victim, poor me. And the other one is like just purely taking advantage.
Just coasting on a magic carpet of money. Yeah.
Right.
That's what he's doing. And her Lisa's friends would kind of later reveal that this was a source of resentment for Lisa because she was working really hard. And these aren't like rich people by any means. They're like upper middle class, I guess.
They had to work for the money that they have, which is a big
they're
difference.
not like rich people, right? And Lisa said that she would give, quote, most of her paycheck to Joel Jr. So like she's working and giving all of her money income to him.
So she's enabling him, really.
Yeah, but she was about to stop, basically. And she like literally could not. It sounds like they couldn't afford really to support him, but they were.
She basically didn't need to work except that she had to care for an adult child.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
And they want to retire. Yeah, exactly. He's 28. She's like, enough. You know, I think for like your early 20s, that's okay, but it gets old, right? Like after a while.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily believe that like everybody has to graduate high school, go to college, you know, learn some bullshit and get a job or whatever, but you also shouldn't be like bleeding your parents for money and like forcing them to work, you know, when they otherwise wouldn't.
I think you get a few years of like a grace period while you're actually in college, right? Of like, you know, I think you should help your kids if you can afford to, but like 28 is like you're pushing it. You're pushing it, Joel.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So it's Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. And alarms are raised when Lisa doesn't come into work at the engineering company where she worked as an accounts payable admin.
Okay.
It was supposed to be her last day at work, and her coworkers actually had a little like farewell lunch planned. So they're like super weirded out that she wouldn't show up and isn't answering any of their calls. So her
They're like,
coworkers
she wouldn't
request-
just be like, fuck this place. Like,
yeah, exactly. This is like a momentous occasion, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, she's like, I'm about to fucking cut off my moocher son. I'm gonna go retire. It's a happy day, right?
Right. Celebration.
So police, on the coworker's request, do a welfare check at the home.
Mhm.
And here we go. Okay,
Oy.
whew, I'm taking a sip and a deep breath.
Totally fair.
When police arrive at the home, and by the way, it is on the murder map if you're a Patreon. I flagged it.
Nice.
Still there. They immediately see groceries on the floor as if someone had just left them there, like meat and milk and like stuff you wouldn't leave out.
hmm
It's also oddly hot. The thermostat was set to 90 degrees.
Oh my god. That's so gnarly.
And there's all kinds of smells happening, like just a landscape of aromas is
Right.
occurring at this house. There's
So
chemicals, really gross smells. The first responders and police who walked in said they were just like, "Bleh," just like immediately
Right.
react
Right.
to the temperature and the scents. On the tables, they see the couple's wallets, guns, and a sledgehammer.
Oh god. Okay.
For foreshadowing.
Yes.
And I'm just gonna get right to it. In a big pot on the stove, they find Lisa's decapitated head actively boiling.
Fuck, dude. So gnarly.
Yeah.
So fucking gnarly.
Yeah, no, there's no way around that. Like that's
Like-
just yeah. It only gets worse somehow.
I know.
Ooh. So in a room
It's so
where Joel
fucked up.
Sr. had some workout equipment, they find his dismembered hands,
Jesus Christ.
and along with a ton of gnarly bloodstains. The family dog was thankfully locked in a bedroom and okay.
I mean,
Tiny,
you know,
weird silver lining here.
yeah.
As they continue to look through the house, there's blood everywhere. They find Lisa's clothes. And finally, upstairs in a bathroom, they find two 45-gallon blue plastic tubs with Joel and Lisa's dismembered body parts in an acidic concoction that had been kind of homemade. And they find
Right.
various chemicals throughout the house that were used to make said acid.
Right. To try and dissolve the bodies.
Yes. And because of all these chemical elements, officers have to like pause and come back with hazmat suits because it's so toxic.
It's so gnarly.
Yeah. All the officers and people who responded are like deeply traumatized. They say this is like all the different ways you can put it. They're basically like, this is the worst thing we've ever seen. Like,
That's fair.
we
yeah.
need therapy now. Bah, 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 bah.
Yeah.
So it takes about like 0.05 seconds to figure out who did this. Everyone's
Right.
like, where the fuck is Joel, right?
Right.
And he is promptly arrested the next day at his apartment in Baton Rouge and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and abuse of a corpse, which,
Oof.
duh.
Yeah. A little bit.
He does not confess, so he's kind of pretending he's innocent. He opts for a bench trial.
Oh, come on, dude.
Yeah. And at trial, a lot of additional gruesome details come out about how Joel and Lisa died. Joel Sr. had 42 injuries, and he was stabbed so viciously that part of the knife was left in his muscle.
Which is insane that it fucking like broke in him.
Yeah.
God
yeah,
damn.
and he put up a big fight, I guess,
Good.
before his
Yeah.
murder. Lisa was stabbed 31 times with equal viciousness.
Mhm.
He obviously dismembered them and attempted to dissolve their bodies. And this, to me, here we've arrived to the wildest shit in this case. So the gruesome scene is described, what I just kind of went over, but they also describe a notebook that they found. And here's some pages from this notebook. One of them has a couple pages, has a bullet-pointed murder to-do list.
Oh, goodness.
And I'm not going to go through everything, but here's some highlights. Quote, bring blender and food grinder, - grind meat.
Grind meat. He's talking about his parents.
And he's like noting this while they're having like Thanksgiving dinner, presumably. Or like while they're still alive. Yeah.
Grind meat. Like,
Here's another one. Get bleach - denature proteins.
his parents
Quote,
are meat and proteins to him.
proteins,
Like,
yeah.
That's how he's referring to them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Quote, get killing knives, quiet, multiple. And then here's our bit about how that sledgehammer was used. Quote, get sledgehammer - crush bones.
So that was not even for the murder. That was for after the murder to help
After.
pulverize the bodies.
Yes.
He is so fucking callous. It's
Oh.
insane.
Yeah. Quote, flesh chunks down toilet. That's another. I also wanted to say that one. He
Thank
also
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. He also wrote a to-do list step by step of how he was going to murder and dismember his parents in detail, like exceptional levels of detail. You can go and see this picture of these notes online, but I'll give you a few choice highlights. Quote, this is for after he's killed his dad. Quote, place him in plastic bin and use it to get him into the upstairs bathroom. Cut off his arm and plant his flesh under her fingernails. So he was trying to do like a framing thing.
How? Okay. I'm sorry. I'll hold my questions to the end of the lecture.
Hold your questions. Yeah. He also wrote kill dog, which fuck you, Joel Jr. Fuck you. But then he wrote, he crossed it out and wrote take dog with you. He didn't, but thankfully he didn't kill the fucking dog.
He settled for a middle ground, which is fine.
Yeah. He also seemed to want to burn down the house, but that did not come to pass or didn't get there yet. He did have a meat grinder, which was found in the trunk of his car. So he did probably grind.
That's insane.
Their bodies. They also found all the receipts for all these various chemicals and objects of weapons and murder equipment.
Yeah.
Another page in the notebook lists all of his parents' assets and houses and things he was going to inherit, or steal.
Jesus.
He was actively researching details about their wealth, and what would go to whom in the case of their death, right? And so he was like making sure he would get everything.
Right. I mean, if you're going to do all this, right?
Yeah. They also found that he had gotten serious cuts while doing the murders, presumably in that fight with his dad.
Right.
And he had to actually get treated at a clinic. And this is why his like supposedly genius murder plan was paused and he left the house with all that fucking, piles of evidence. Is he actually drove down to a fucking clinic where he lived in Baton Rouge to treat his hand.
Okay, because he didn't want them to be able to trace it back. But I bet what he wasn't banking on, I bet he didn't know that his mom's last day was the day after Thanksgiving. He probably assumed she was taking the whole weekend off, so he'd have that whole time to do what he's doing. That's my
assumption. Because why would you leave the fucking house like that with so much evidence and then your notebook, your murder notebook, and your receipts? Like
he didn't know that was her
he thought
last
he
day.
had more time.
He thought he had the whole weekend. He thought he had a 4-day weekend. Yeah.
So he goes to get his little wounds treated, and that's how he leaves everything. In 2020, takes a while to pass through the courts, but he's found guilty to everything pretty quickly. This is a pretty easy verdict.
Jesus.
There's like a fucking abundance of evidence. The fact that he was even trying to like say he's innocent is wacky.
Doesn't he still claim he's innocent though?
I think so.
I think he does. Yeah.
Yes. He's sentenced to life with no parole for 130 years.
Oh, well.
At the sentencing, the judge gives a very brutal, spicy statement where he says that Joel Jr., quote, thinks he's smarter than he really is.
Yeah.
And he says that the crime was actually done in a very stupid fucking way.
My thoughts exactly, Judge. Like, okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Question. How are they gonna, okay. You're gonna frame
Cindy's like brain is short circuit.
I can't. Like, this is so dumb. You're gonna frame your dad for killing your mom? Then how the fuck did he dismember himself and put himself in a vat of you know what I mean? And if you're dissolving him, isn't the shit under the fingernails gonna dissolve? Like,
also, why burn the house down if they're already dissolved in barrels? Like, what?
And why grind up some of the
factor?
meat? And why flush some of it? Like, you have so many different avenues you're taking. Like, pick a thing and fucking do it. And I'm not saying this is not how to not get caught for murder with Cindy. We haven't had that segment in a while. But what I'm saying is like,
but this is very poorly done.
This is very poorly done. It's like you're giving so many different ways. Like I'm gonna frame him. He dismembered himself. Like, what? He shoved himself in a barrel? Like, it doesn't. None of this makes sense. Had he had 4 days, had he had 2 weeks, I don't think he would have pulled this off.
No. It was not just a lack of time. It was also poorly conceived.
It was a lack of brain cells, is what we're talking here. Like, this guy is fucking ridiculous. It's probably because he never had to work for anything in his life, Like, he wasn't good at planning.
But he thought he was very, very smart. So I like that the judge said that, because there's clearly an abundance of
I think
ego.
He was coddled. And I am not blaming his fucking parents, because there's a ton of people out there who are coddled who don't do shit like this. But I think his mom was probably just a pushover and like loved her kids and wanted to give them good life. And obviously the 3 other ones that weren't even like biologically hers, they were fine. They grew up to be good people. He's just rotten, Yeah.
No, it's a mix of things, clearly.
Yeah.
But at the sentencing, Several family members gave really heart-wrenching statements, including Joel's 3 daughters, Tina, Angela, and Michelle.
Yeah.
And Lisa's brother, who talked about, and this is fucking insane and horrific too, just an extra fucked up twist. Lisa's brother talked about what a wonderful, what wonderful people his sister and Joel were, and how Lisa's elderly mom literally collapsed when she heard about the murders and was taken to the hospital and died.
Oh my fucking God.
Of shock. Yeah, like of a broken heart is what he says.
That's wow.
So like
that's
an extra victim,
so
essentially.
Fucked up. Yeah, that's like another level.
Really fucked up.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, and then here's just a quote from Tina's statement, because holy shit, like this is a doozy of a statement. Quote, "No one will ever know what it's like to be a child having to hear your grandmother's head was cooking in a pot."
Yeah. That's rough.
Quote, "On a super selfish note, you will never know what it's like to have to tell your children that their grandparents were chopped up and put in acid."
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no, that's fair. The grandkids have a lot of therapy ahead as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think her point is like, yeah, you're in prison, but like we're the ones suffering. Like we're the ones who have to fucking deal with the trauma and the fallout of your actions, while you just get to sit in a cell. Like you don't have responsibility to anybody.
Yeah, and this is like their loved ones, and by all accounts, they seem like really lovely people as well. And like all these details, the pot and the head in the pot, this is all like public, like they just have to like live with that knowledge.
They just have to fucking deal with this forever, which is so horrific.
Yeah. Yeah. At no point was he remorseful. He never showed any emotion during the trial or the statements or the sentencing of his, his sisters are like pouring their heart out and sobbing. He's like, well,
yeah, because he's a fucking piece of shit.
Yes. He's still in prison in Tennessee, eligible for parole in 2136.
Oh, so, cool. All right. Good.
Yeah. However, he is still claiming he's innocent, which is really dumb. Tracks with him being very stupid. And as of November 17th, so like earlier this month, he is launching a very dumb appeal, which I struggled to understand. So I'm going to very, very loosely explain it. It's basically based on if he was a house guest or a resident of the house. And he's trying to claim that he had a right to privacy and cops should not have come in without a warrant.
I'm so sorry. Can you imagine a judge being like, all right, I'll grant that. Like,
yeah, let's throw out everything they found, all those body parts and stuff, because they shouldn't have come in. Yeah, it's really stupid. Also, I think it's going to get shot down, obviously, but the cops have, like, for everyone's knowledge, there's a thing where if they see blood and like body parts, they actually can go wherever they want. Then you kind of lose your right to privacy if your house has blood and body parts in it.
Right. And they didn't just show up randomly. There was a wellness check requested.
Yes,
they probably
people are in
the
danger.
window and were like, what the fuck? Like,
exactly. If there's a chance people are actively in danger, they can come in,
He must have access to his parents' money or something to be like paying lawyers for this.
Doing appeals, right?
Yeah.
No, I hope not.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, he is just very arrogant and thinks he's very, very smart, despite clearly being bad at everything, including murder.
Yeah.
So,
and I want people to know, like, I understand you are allowed to have appeals if you can't afford a lawyer. You get like a public defender. But like this just sounds like, I don't know. To me, this sounds like private lawyer bullshit. Like, I just think, wow, what a fucking dickhead.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of cases where there's a head in a pot.
No, there's very few, but you always tell those ones. Those are like the ones you do. And I want to say,
did we do Zach and Addie? Did we do that?
You did,
when we did New Orleans. I did. Okay, that was another head in a pot. Yeah.
Or maybe I don't know. It definitely got
Catherine
done.
Knight. That's another one.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I want to clarify that I really like this story because I like dunking on the loser that is Joel Guy Jr. Like he's such a fucking idiot. It's so easy to make fun of him.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it for that. Not
he's a very specific type of person as well. He's like a very like I know this person. He's a bit basement dweller.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got kind of maybe
fucking
a little
loser vibe.
Notes of incel. Tasting notes there.
Yeah. Tasting notes. A hint of total loser.
Yeah.
Incel. Yeah. He's the fucking worst. Okay. Well, there's round one. These are fucking gnarly. I'm super excited for my next one. Like, oh my God.
I have a similarly obnoxious dude for my second one. So
yeah. Oh, nice. Mine is a fucking mystery, man. It's going to be really interesting to talk about. I can't wait for people to tell us what they think. I hope everybody had a great holiday. If you guys celebrated Thanksgiving, I didn't want to, but I have a 7-year-old and he like begged me. So we had some food and talked about colonialism.
It's okay. I think it's okay
Yeah.
to eat the food as long as you're eating it while you're saying fuck colonialism.
Yeah,
So,
which we were. We had a long
It's okay.
conversation about that, and I talked to him about
Yeah.
how what his teachers say is indoctrination, and he shouldn't
Mhm.
listen to them.
And also,
So
it's a lot of American quote unquote food and Thanksgiving food is indigenous food. So you can also like talk about that.
Yeah,
and, like,
totally.
You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So there was that. Anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed some time off, had a lovely week, and thanks for
stayed well and
Yeah.
free of the various illnesses that might be in my system right now.
Jesus that are circulating and kicking everybody's asses. So yeah, stay well, stay safe, and until the next half,
Stay
off our
blessed.
list.